We are approaching that time, ladies and gentlemen. Preseason game week 3, and cuts are 8 days away. Now, don't forget, cuts can start essentially at any time. The Lions play on Saturday. They can start the Sunday after that. Like, expect to hear people getting cut. Remember, before, up until last year, there were cuts after every preseason game. You had to go from it was weird. It was like you had to go from 90 to like 85, and then 85 to 80, and then from all the way from 80 to like 53, and then fill the practice squad. But this time it's just one cut. That doesn't mean you have to cut everybody at once. That just means there's one cut that has to be done by a certain time. So the Lions are going to start cutting people after next Saturday's game. It's probably going to come in spurts a little bit at a time. Then we'll have the 53-man roster. Then a little bit after that, we'll have the practice squad. It'll be, it's weird because it doesn't fill up immediately. And I'm kind of giddy. I'm getting excited about that. I'm also getting excited about the potential of the Detroit Lions bringing in an unknown, somebody that is not on our team right now, as the wide receiver 4, 5, and or 6. The Lions are not in a good place when it comes to wide receiver. Now, we did see a guy step up, Isaiah Williams. He came through, stepped up, made a big case for making the roster, and I think he's going to make the roster. If he doesn't make the Detroit Lions roster, he will be on a 53-man roster this year, and I think that he is going to skip out on that UFL draft that he will be playing in the spring. Now, with that being said, the Detroit Lions have to find a wide receiver. And my thing is a big body guy. Josh Reynolds not being on this team currently is a problem. There's no denying it. It is a problem. And we are paying the piper at this moment. There's a ton of guys that we think could be cut, and we have yet to see. But it's going to get real good because next week today, even though it's Monday, we're going to hear about people getting cut. And I'm getting excited, man, almost like it's the season itself. So with that being the case, could the Detroit Lions possibly trade for a wide receiver? Now, we've talked about Treylon Burks. We've talked about several guys, several wide receivers. I wanted guys like Calvin Ridley in the offseason and things like that. The Detroit Lions chose not to go that route. Now Antoine Green, their 7th-round pick, is not on the team, we haven't heard anything about him. So I'm assuming he cleared waivers. He's not on any NFL team, let alone the Detroit Lions. But there's a name that kind of came out of nowhere as far as a potential person of interest, maybe for the Detroit Lions. It depends on how you look at the scenario. Now, I think that some guys from the Houston Texans are going to be cut. Houston has way too many receivers over there. Last I counted, it was 14. They have at least 8 guys that's capable of being starters. So if you take 5 to 6 on the starting active 53-man roster, you put 2 or 3 on the practice squad, they're going to have people that are looking for new teams. So I think keep an eye on somebody from the Houston Texans. But there's a guy you know who it all is already because it's on the thumbnail and the banner. Jahan Dotson. Could he be on his way out from the Washington Commanders? Here's why I say this. This article is coming from Sideline Report, but they got this from somewhere else. This is what it says. In the Washington Commanders preseason opener, wide receiver Jahan Dotson surprisingly played a lot, 32 offensive snaps. It's easy to anoint him as Washington's 2 wide receiver, but this week, head coach Dan Campbell seemed to confirm there's legitimate position battle going on. I would say we are right in the middle of it, the wide receiver 2 battle. You'll see a lot of guys in today joint practice. You'll see 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of guys who are really battling. I've been really impressed with Zacchaeus. I think he's had a really strong camp. Looking forward to getting Luke some extra work, Jahan, Diami. So that's where we're at. And then the special teams is going to factor into that as well. Now, how could that be talking about what would make us think or someone think that Dotson could be potentially not on the team this coming year? Here's what Dotson himself had to say. It says Dotson via Sam with the Washington Post, acknowledged his situation in the vein of there being a new regime in Washington. Says DQ, meaning Dan Quinn, didn't draft me. Each and every year in your profession, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove what you're worth and what you're capable of doing. That's what I'm trying to do. And then check this out. Coming from Greg Rosenthal, I think he's with NFL Network, says the more Commanders coaches talk, the more I wonder if Jahan Dotson is on their week 1 roster. Now, if the Detroit Lions, if Washington is willing to, and that's a big if they're willing to give up Jahan, what would you take him for? What? This guy, let's look at his stats. First, I'm like, didn't he just get drafted? That's crazy. Very similar position to John Mechie. Now, John Mechie fell to the second round because he was battling cancer. It would be nice to see him and J-Mo reunited. Says, this is Dotson's stats. He played 17 games. He had 49 receptions on 83 targets for 518 yards, averaged 10.6 with 4 touchdowns. His long was 33 yards. Right now, this dude played 17 games. Josh Reynolds' numbers are better than that. Now, Dotson is only 5'11", a $182 soaking wet. Would you take Dotson? Let's look at what he is owed this year. Says, from Spot Track, in 2024, Dotson will earn a base salary of 1.5 and a roster bonus of $500,000 while carrying a cap hit of $4.1 million and a dead cap value of $8.8 million. Get this guy on the cheap. Now, if we trade for him, what are we going to give? We don't have a 3rd round pick in 2025. I think we gave that up for Carlton Davis III. We don't have a 6th in 2025 because, or at least 1 6. I didn't look at the draft layout because of a receiver with Donovan Peoples-Jones. What would you do? What would you do? He's a little small for me, and we don't have that big body guy. So if we're going to bring somebody in, but same thing with Mechie. I don't think Mechie is too much taller than he is. So letting Josh Reynolds go right now seems to be a mistake. Will it be a grave mistake? I don't know. But what would you be willing to give up for Dotson if the Washington Commanders are willing to part ways with him? That'd be crazy to me. That would be crazy to me, but the Washington Commanders are that type of franchise. Rumors have it that before Jared Goff got signed, every single year he'd been here, before, they got their quarterback this year, they were calling for Jared Goff to see if the Lions were willing to part. Just all alleged to see. So what would you do? If we were to trade for a shorter wide receiver, we would have to keep somebody we already have on the roster. So we would have to keep a guy like, at that point, are you keeping DPJ? Are you trading for you losing 2 draft picks for 2 wide receivers minimum, right? So you're talking about Khalif, J-Mo, St. Brown. Then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones and then a Dotson. Do we keep a Caden Davis? I mean, I don't know. Lions, they need a body who's over 6 feet. We need a body who's like 6'3", 6'2" at least. That's what we need. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think they could part? I mean, the likelihood, I think it's low. I don't know, man, but I'm excited. This is exciting because I think just like the Lions are going to have to move on for some good players, I think that we're going to see a lot of players get cut from other teams that the Lions could pounce on. So let me know your thoughts, man. What would you take? He's cheap. We can afford him. That's for sure. But what would we be willing to give up if we were to do that? I don't know. But that also goes with any trade at all. So we'll see. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.